Ever notice how some people seem to effortlessly get what they want in life? The job, the relationships, the respect. It's not luck. It's not magic. And it's definitely not an accident. What if I told you that the most powerful people throughout history understood one critical truth? Your destiny isn't determined by who you actually are, but by who others perceive you to be. Niccolò Machiavelli, the Italian philosopher whose name has become synonymous with cunning strategy, recognized this 500 years ago. While others were playing checkers, Machiavelli was playing chess with human psychology. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people miss. The world doesn't respond to your intentions, your effort, or even your talent. The world responds to its perception of you. Control that perception, and you control your destiny. Think about it. The colleague who gets promoted despite doing less work, the person who commands attention the moment they walk into a room, the friend whose advice is always taken seriously while yours is overlooked. What do they all have in common? They've mastered Machiavelli's perception game. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on this hidden social dynamic, not because it's comfortable, it isn't, but because understanding this game changes everything. In the next few minutes, you'll learn exactly how to shape others' perceptions deliberately, control the information that defines you, and create a powerful, consistent impression that works in your favor across every area of your life. This isn't about manipulation. It's about strategic self-presentation, a skill that separates those who merely wish for better outcomes from those who actually achieve them. Ready to stop leaving your reputation to chance? Let's dive in. Number 1. The echo chamber strategy. Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to build powerful reputations seemingly overnight? While you're grinding away trying to impress everyone you meet, these perception masters are executing a completely different playbook. They understand something fundamental that most people miss entirely. Think about the last time you heard a rumor about someone. How did it reach you? Rarely directly from the source, right? Information about people travels through networks, amplifying and distorting along the way. Most people leave this process to chance, but what if you could harness this natural phenomenon to your advantage? Here's what the reputation masters know. Not all opinions are created equal. In any social or professional ecosystem, there exists an invisible hierarchy of influence. Some people's opinions matter exponentially more than others, because when they speak, everyone listens, and more importantly, everyone believes. You've probably been exhausting yourself trying to manage how everyone perceives you. It's like trying to boil the ocean. Impossible, frustrating, and ultimately futile. You're spreading yourself too thin, diluting your impression, and burning out in the process. Instead, I want you to picture the social or professional environment where your reputation matters most. Now, mentally map out the key players. Who are the people others naturally defer to? Whose opinions seem to carry more weight? Who gets quoted and referenced even when they're not in the room? This brings us to strategy number 1 of 5, the echo chamber strategy. Instead of trying to impress everyone, identify the 5 most influential people in any social or professional ecosystem and focus your reputation-building efforts specifically on them. The magic happens when these 5 key people start talking about you to others. Their opinions echo throughout the network, doing the heavy lifting for you. One positive comment from a respected source carries more weight than 100 self-promotional efforts. This creates a perception multiplier effect that's far more efficient than trying to win over everyone individually. Here's how to implement this strategy. First, map your influence ecosystem. Who are the real opinion leaders? They're not always the ones with formal authority. Look for those whose judgments others seek and trust. Second, study these 5 people deeply. What do they value? What impresses them specifically? Third, create meaningful touchpoints with them, not random interactions, but moments that highlight exactly the qualities they personally value most. The beauty of this approach is its efficiency. By focusing your reputation-building efforts on just 5 strategic relationships, you create ripple effects that naturally spread throughout your entire network. When these key people mention you positively to others, it carries an implicit endorsement that's vastly more powerful than anything you could say about yourself. Remember, Machiavelli understood that perception is rarely built directly. It's built through strategic proxies who do the work of promoting your image without you ever having to say a word about yourself. Master this first strategy, and you've already separated yourself from 95% of people who are still trying to individually impress everyone they meet. Number 2, the controlled vulnerability principle. Have you ever wondered why some people seem trustworthy and authentic from the moment you meet them, while others come across as fake despite their best efforts? The difference often comes down to a counterintuitive truth about human psychology. We don't trust perfection. In fact, we're naturally suspicious of it. Think about someone you know who presents themselves as flawless. They never admit mistakes. They always have the right answer. They never show weakness. How do you feel about them? There's something unsettling there, isn't there? That's because perfection triggers our internal warning systems. We know instinctively that no one is perfect, so when someone appears to be, we sense dishonesty. On the other extreme, we've all encountered the chronic oversharer, the person who tells you their deepest traumas within minutes of meeting. While they might seem authentic at first, something else happens. We begin to question their judgment, their boundaries, their strength. Too much vulnerability doesn't build connection. It erodes respect. So how do perception masters navigate this delicate balance? How do they appear authentic and human without undermining their authority and influence? This brings us to strategy number 2 of 5, the controlled vulnerability principle. Rather than maintaining a flawless facade or oversharing, strategically reveal specific, carefully chosen vulnerabilities. The key word here is strategically. Not all vulnerabilities are created equal. Some humanize you without weakening your position, while others can permanently damage your reputation. The vulnerabilities you choose to reveal should be meaningful enough to create authentic connection, but never touch your core competencies. For example, a CEO might share struggles with work-life balance, but never admit doubts about their business strategy. A doctor might discuss the emotional toll of difficult cases, but never reveal uncertainty about medical knowledge. A teacher might share past learning challenges, but never current content confusion. When you apply this principle correctly, something remarkable happens. You create what appears to be a paradox. Revealing certain weaknesses actually strengthens your overall perceived competence and trustworthiness. By acknowledging specific, carefully chosen limitations, you gain credibility when discussing your strengths. Here's how to implement this strategy. First, identify your reputation pillars, the core competencies that are fundamental to how you need to be perceived. These are off-limits for vulnerability. Second, identify meaningful but peripheral challenges you've faced or mistakes you've made. Third, practice sharing these vulnerabilities in ways that demonstrate reflection, growth, and self-awareness. This principle works because it satisfies our deep psychological need for authenticity while maintaining respect. When someone shows controlled vulnerability, we think, this person is honest enough to admit imperfection, which means I can trust what they say about their strengths. Machiavelli understood that perceived authenticity is a powerful tool for influence. By mastering this delicate balance, showing enough humanity to connect but protecting your essential strength, you create a perception of trustworthiness that's far more powerful than either a perfect facade or complete transparency could ever achieve. Number 3. The narrative gap technique. Have you ever noticed how quickly people form opinions about others based on minimal information? The human mind is a natural storyteller, constantly working to create coherent narratives, even when given only fragments of information. Most people leave this process entirely to chance, but perception masters understand and harness this psychological tendency to shape how others see them. Think about the last time you met someone new. For an advisor, wisdom. The specific anchor depends on your goals and environment, but it should be something you can genuinely embody and consistently demonstrate. Once you've identified your anchor trait, you need to make it memorable. This means finding opportunities to display this quality in ways that stand out. If your anchor is creativity, your ideas should be presented with distinctive flair. If it's analytical thinking, your insights should be supported by unique frameworks or unexpected data points. The goal is to make your expressions of this quality different enough to stick in people's minds. The magic happens after your anchor trait is established. When this anchor is strong enough, people begin interpreting even neutral behaviors through its lens. The analytical person's silence is seen as thoughtful consideration. The decisive leader's quick response is seen as confident direction rather than impulsivity. The trustworthy colleague's absence is assumed to have a legitimate reason rather than raising suspicion. Here's how to implement this strategy. First, honestly assess your authentic strengths and select one that offers strategic advantage in your context. Second, look for opportunities to demonstrate this quality in memorable, distinctive ways. Third, maintain consistent alignment with this anchor trait. Never act in ways that directly contradict it, as this creates cognitive dissonance and weakens the anchor's effect. For example, if your chosen anchor trait is thoughtful analysis, you might become known for asking one insightful question in meetings that shifts the entire conversation. If it's reliability, you might develop a reputation for delivering work slightly ahead of deadline every single time, not just meeting it. If it's creativity, you might present solutions with unique visualizations that no one else uses. Machiavelli understood that perception is filtered through dominant impressions. By deliberately establishing and reinforcing your anchor trait, you create a lens through which all your other behaviors are viewed and interpreted. This doesn't mean being one-dimensional. It means giving people a primary filter that works in your favor and shapes how they understand everything else about you. Number 5. The reputation insurance protocol. Have you ever noticed how some people seem immune to reputation damage even when they make moves that would destroy others? How certain leaders can take bold actions without backlash. How some negotiators can drive hard bargains yet still be seen as fair. These perception masters understand something crucial that most people miss. Reputation protection must happen before it's needed, not after. Most people approach reputation defensively, scrambling to manage damage after a potentially negative perception has already formed. By then, it's often too late. The narrative has taken hold, and changing established perceptions is far harder than shaping them from the beginning. Think about the last time someone's actions surprised you in a negative way. That unexpected behavior likely colored your entire perception of them going forward. But what if they had laid groundwork that made that same action seem reasonable or even admirable? This is where strategic reputation management makes all the difference. This brings us to strategy number 5 of 5, the reputation insurance protocol. Before any significant career or social move, create perception insurance by establishing counterbalancing impressions that neutralize potential negative interpretations. The concept is simple but powerful. Identify potential negative perceptions that could arise from necessary actions you'll need to take. Then, proactively establish counterbalancing impressions that make those negative interpretations less likely to stick. For example, Demonstrating generosity before negotiating hard protects against being labeled greedy. Showing genuine concern for team members before making tough organizational decisions protects against being seen as cold. Establishing deep expertise before challenging conventional wisdom protects against being dismissed as ignorant. This preemptive framing creates a psychological buffer that preserves your carefully crafted reputation even through challenging situations. It works because people interpret actions based on their existing perceptions. If your established reputation contradicts the negative interpretation, people will look for alternative explanations for your behavior. Here's how to implement this strategy effectively. First, anticipate potential reputation threats by identifying necessary actions that could be misinterpreted. Second, determine which positive perceptions would counterbalance these potential negatives. Third, deliberately establish these positive perceptions well before you need to take the potentially controversial action. The timing is crucial. Reputation insurance must be established in advance to be effective. If you wait until after a potentially negative perception has formed, your positive actions will seem like damage control rather than authentic character. For example, a manager who knows they'll need to make tough budget decisions might first establish a clear track record of fighting for their team's resources and recognizing their contributions. When difficult cuts become necessary, the team is more likely to see them as unavoidable rather than uncaring. A professional planning to change industries might first establish their commitment to deep expertise and continuous learning. When they make the switch, others are more likely to see it as a thoughtful evolution rather than fickleness or lack of dedication. Machiavelli understood that perception management requires foresight. By anticipating how your actions might be perceived and strategically establishing counterbalancing impressions beforehand, you create a psychological buffer that protects your reputation through challenging transitions and difficult decisions. As we wrap up this exploration of Machiavelli's perception game, remember that mastering how others perceive you isn't about deception. It's about intention. It's the difference between allowing your reputation to form randomly and strategically guiding it toward an authentic version of yourself that serves your goals. The 5 strategies we've covered, the echo chamber strategy, the controlled vulnerability principle, the narrative gap technique, the perception anchor method, and the reputation insurance protocol, provide a powerful framework for taking control of how the world sees you. Implementation starts with a single step, becoming conscious of the perceptions you're currently creating. From there, you can begin shaping those impressions with purpose and precision. Your reputation isn't just something that happens to you, it's something you actively create. Remember, when you control what others think about you, you truly control your destiny. The question is, what destiny will you choose to create?